Hi Krishna, my name is Prithu, and I've been around ISKCON since 72. So I came to Krishna consciousness with a book. I got the Ishopanishad from a friend. I read it overnight in a train to France. And by the time I reached Paris, I made up my mind, this is it. I've never seen anything like it. I studied comparative religion before. I was into Eastern mysticism, into Buddhism, and so when I read Ishopanishad, I knew this is something very special, and I decided to join the Hare Krishna movement, and 3 days later I was in a temple and, basically speaking, distributed the same book the same day I joined in the street in a dhoti in very cold weather in Hamburg. And these books are very powerful because Prabhupada is in these books. He told us this, but I also know from very practical experience, I distribute a lot of books, that Prabhupada is in his books. There's a story that our Chandramani Maharaj, he reads Prabhupada's books every day very religiously, loud. And so he told me just a couple of years ago, while he was reading, all of a sudden he felt the atmosphere change in the room, and he looked up for a moment, and then Prabhupada started continuing where he was reading. His voice came in, and Prabhupada read actually right there, this is 3 years ago, Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna book, whatever it was. And so this actually matches my personal experience, because I have been there when Prabhupada was in his last 3 weeks. And he left in the evening, and next night next morning there was a parikrama, he was put into samadhi, and I had this personal experience that Prabhupada told me, that they think that I'm dead, which was amazing. It was a very translucent, beautiful form, and that he came the day after he disappeared, practically speaking. And so when we saw him in London in 1974, we were all distributing books. This was our main service, lots of books, very hard work. And so we came into his room, and he asked, what is the most important verse? And I happened to be there lifting my finger. I said to Prabhupada, Yaradikataka Krishna Upadesh, wherever you go, there you preach. And Prabhupada said, yes, this is the most important verse. And then he asked, what does it mean, Upadesh? And I didn't know. Prabhupada said, not only that you distribute our books, you must also read my books. Because we always talk about having association with self-realized souls, or with great devotees, with great Vaishnavas. We have this association when we read Prabhupada's books, because he is in his books. It is his personal sound incarnation. And I've seen these books taking wonderful courses. I just remember one friend of mine in Russia, he was distributing books in what is it, Subal or something? Suzdal, a very Russian Orthodox oriented town with many, many monasteries, and nobody would buy a book. So finally he said, but Krishna, you brought me here, there must be somebody. So he went into one church, empty, but there was a light coming out of the doorway leading to a basement. He went in there. There was a priest sitting there with a long beard, in black dress, and when he saw that somebody was coming, he put something under the table, and he was hiding something. And so he went up to him and said, Father, I brought some books for you. And the priest started crying. He said, you know what I'm reading? He pulled out Srimad Bhagavatam. He said, my father gave me this 10 years ago. I read this every day. He said, and I was praying to Jesus and to Krishna, please send somebody who can give me the rest. And this is the day that actually my prayer has been fulfilled, I imagine it's such a beautiful story. And there are literally hundreds of stories how people were touched by Srila Prabhupada's books. And therefore it is important by reading Prabhupada's books, we associate with Prabhupada, And there's some of our devotees who are very serious readers of Prabhupada's books, and they have lots of amazing experiences. So yes, book distribution is a solution. Prabhupada told us, in our days we say 100 Gitas a day keeps Maya away, we used to say. So if you distribute 100 Gitas, you can't be too much in Maya, And we would do large amounts of books, because Prabhupada, actually, he wrote us a letter personally. He said, if you really want to please me, then please distribute my books. This was the most wonderful thing. And I remember when I gave Prabhupada the Bhagavad Gita, I told you I translated together with Satchidananda Swami and Gauravani Maharaj the Bhagavad Gita. When we gave Prabhupada in his quarters in Albert Road in Calcutta, the Bhagavad Gita, he was thrilled. He was thrilled. He put the book to his head. He became like a young man. He checked the paper, said everything first class of binding, made in Germany. He said, when I was a medical man, I got all my medicines from Germany. So he liked the paper, he liked the printing, everything. He became so excited that finally his book became translated into German, which is, for Indians, that's a big thing. Germany is a big thing. So many German scholars came out of India, Sanskrit scholars came out of Germany. Prabhupada was delighted, was absolutely delighted. And so I've seen Prabhupada the next, 5 years, 6 years till he departed, and he was translating up to the end. He was translating his books. And one man came to him, and I think it was Krishna Das Babaji. I heard the translation. I was there, but I heard the translation. So he said, Prabhu, he said, you have done wonderful. And Prabhupada said, I'm just doing my duty. He said, D-U-T-Y, duty. That's all. I'm just doing my duty to my Guru Maharaj. So he took the message of Bhaktisiddhanta very serious, namely to go and distribute books all over the world, more so than anybody. And so therefore, he became so enthused with power. One time Prabhupada was lying in his room in Radha Damodar temple before he even came to the West. And he was lying on a straw mat in winter, on the stone floor, on a straw mat. I cannot see myself doing this for even sitting on it. It is so cold. He was lying there and had very high fever. And two godbrothers came to him and said, you have to get a bed, otherwise you die. You're lying on the cold floor on a mattress, straw mattress. And Prabhupada said, no. He said, I will not die. I will use every paisa for book distribution. Think about that. I heard it from Narottam Gupta, that's his personal doctor at that time. He told me that. It is something very few, I think I'm the only person who've heard that, I want to use every paisa for book distribution. You see the sacrifice, how important it was for him distributing these books all over the world. And that was his main pleasure. He used to love hearing the Sankirtan results. And he noticed, I realized that he noticed us when we came to Mayapur. He knew who we were. Like, for example, one time I stepped on Prabhupada's heel on a morning walk, can you imagine? I stepped on his heel, and Prabhupada turned around, he took his cane exactly like this, and pushed me. And he said, now, are you satisfied? Prabhupada, far from being satisfied, I started crying, I feel so sorry. He said, no. I said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When you go back to Germany, I said, tomorrow morning. I said, no. Change your ticket, you must stay at least 3 weeks. He said, enjoy the spiritual atmosphere. And you can imagine, a personal invitation from Prabhupada. And so there's so many stories along these lines that I know how dear Prabhupada, for Prabhupada was book distribution and how important it is and how it is changing the world. It's just no doubt about it. The world is getting into a crisis. More and more and more Krishna is putting the pressure on. And people find solace in these books. Like my own son, He was in the 60s, in the 16 years, when he's 16, he was in big trouble mentally, like many kids are, they're crazy. And so he fell at some time into depression. He was sitting on a computer for 12 hours playing Doom. And so they fell in depression. And so one day he saw the books on the shelf, he grabbed a book. He didn't stop reading it, and he's still reading it, completely pulled him out of everything. And now he's running the Harinam party in Los Angeles, so it's all due to Prabhupada's books, So it's a wonderful way of preaching. It's a great service you do, to spread the glories of Prabhupada and book distribution all over the world. And time may change, but the books are there, and everything is written by Prabhupada, Future generations have no reference anymore. They can't go to somebody. Everything will be just completely based on books, what Prabhupada wrote, And so therefore, that's the only parameters that are there in future. It's Prabhupada's writing. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't take too much of your time. God bless you all. Srila Prabhupada. Jai.